I'ma make the sky explode, rolling smoke out my nose, leaning on the console. I ain't seen no asphalt in about 10 miles.
Cool. Eli, what's up,
Right.
bro?
What's going on, man?
Dallas, Texas.
Heck yeah.
This is not our normal set.
Correct.
One would say this could be a little bit more extravagant than our set.
Extravagance, the perfect word for it.
It's got higher ceiling, probably.
It's got way higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you guys are curious, like
Yeah.
we're out in Dallas with Michael Valdez,
What's up?
CEO, LPT, Aperture. Am I saying that correct?
CEO of LPT International and global president of Aperture.
There we
And
go.
we just made a move over to Aperture
That's right.
and LPT. And we're going to be talking today about future of real estate.
Yeah.
Why it's such a good fit. I mean, we've had DOOs, COOs of huge coaching companies already choose LPT alongside of us. We've had #1 teams in the world already choose this move alongside of us as well. So we're going to talk about future of real estate, why it's such a good fit,
Yep.
the blend of modern along with like your old school relationship building, old school marketing with some new school things that I think are awesome that we're going to talk to you about. But before we even get into that, just being here the past couple days, learning more about Michael's story, everything he's accomplished, what he's done, way more of a practitioner, right, than you might think.
Yep.
I think that's important to realtors, right? So we're going to kind of dive into that stuff and just hear more about like your story. All the appropriate stories we had this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Probably not all of them.
well, let me say this. Let me just, on the podcast, say thank you for your time this weekend. right?
Oh, brother, of course.
You flew to Denver. We had a great conversation.
Yeah.
We were out there for an event, and we spoke almost all night. Great conversation, great connection. And then, you know, as we were talking, like, hey, guys, listen, on your game plan, on your goals, you guys just need to come to Dallas. I've got some time in May. Just come. So you literally, you were out of town. You travel over 200 days a year.
I do.
So you
Yes.
were out of town.
Yes.
Came home. You've got this 3-day window.
Yeah.
You're leaving back out of town in New York on Tuesday.
Right.
And then these 3 days you gave to us 3 knuckleheads, right?
No.
It's
But
huge.
you know, well, look, it's sort of like, first of all, you know, like I've enjoyed the time to get to know you guys better. It's the idea that there is that ripple effect of spending time and investing time with someone, right? And so, you know, we talked about this over the last couple of days too, that right now my only focus is in empowering others and creating legacy for others. And you know, we'll talk about that. But you guys and what you guys represent and the leaders that you are and what you'd have already built with the old company we were all with, and seeing what the vision is here with what I believe is a much superior model and what you have as runway to affect the lives of other agents, for me was a no-brainer to spend this time with you. I've enjoyed, first of all, your company and just really getting to know you guys on a closer level as friends,
Yeah.
but really where your leadership lies and the lives that you will now affect.
Yep.
So it's been my pleasure to have you guys here.
I appreciate it. And it just hit me like we were talking to, we'll leave the name out of it for now, but a lady who runs the team, #1 team in the world, Big 5 Brokerage. She was here today. She'll be hopping on board and we love her. But you were talking to her and just, you know, just between you two, and you were talking about like time.
Yeah.
Like, just, hey, like you don't get that back.
Yeah.
You don't get to borrow it. Things like you give that, hoping it's just the best things you can do with it, right? Like,
Yeah, you know, it's sort of the idea of what we were talking about, that in life, everything is infinite.
Yeah.
Right? I can't breathe more air than you. It's infinite. Right? It's like you can make as much money as you want. Right? Why does like a Bezos and a Musk exist? What makes them more special than the 4 of us?
autism. Maybe. I don't know.
Great answer. Great.
And this is how the last 2 days have been.
Yeah. We don't sign off on them out. Yeah.
That's perfect.
But the only thing that's finite is time,
Yeah.
right? And we all have the same 24 hours.
But we treat it like it's infinite. Like, how often do people actually? I feel like we do a great job with our time. We try to protect it. We're getting a lot better at it. We're fathers, so there's just things in our life that we are just more aware of with our time. But still, how often are you really aware that, like, man, you kind of treat your time like it's infinite? You're just giving it out, or you're wasting it on something that's not productive, or maybe it is, but it's just not the highest and best use of your time or what you really want to be doing. And for some reason, like just with you talking with Tina, we'll just say it, Tina, today, like it just super I think it just hit me a little bit differently today when
Yeah.
I was speaking. So I think that's why I appreciate your time so much.
No.
I also want to remind Sam of like how much time I've given him this past couple of years. And
I've paid you for so much of it, though.
just
I'll
like,
be honest.
oh man, you do pay me a lot of money, but just to see the man he's become because of me.
That's right.
You know, but like let's dive into it. We'll talk. You know, like
Why do you treat Sam like your adopted son?
I think that he was almost your favorite when we showed up. And I just don't like that. So I have to somehow bully him, or put him
100%.
down, or something.
He just has the best hair.
And
Yeah.
he is
Yeah.
he is the
He
newest he is the newest partner to make this trio.
Yeah.
So I think it's part of the rite of passage, maybe.
Is that what it is?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Not intentionally, but
So Sam, in a year's time, are you going to be bald and tatted out?
No.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Eli's bald. I shave. Valdez,
Wow.
I do this out of support of him.
Is that right?
so he says. So he says.
Okay.
I
There
have
we
hair.
go.
I used to do a line.
Now we all know.
I used to do a line right here and a comb over. I'll show you the picture.
He did. He did.
Sam's a great fit. You've had some time with Sam these past couple of days, and just where he's got influence and
Yeah.
where his talents lean
Yeah.
in, and yeah, he's the best fit for this, you know. And
Yeah, that's
but
awesome.
in addition to like as we're talking about like myself, Eli, Sam, our partnership with LPT and Aperture, probably the best benefit we've had so far is just the relationship of for so long, Eli and I, and then Sam this past year and a half, we've been making so many things to bring value to agents.
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
the CRM stuff that we're doing, the retargeting things that we do, et cetera, et cetera. We'll go at scale on, for a different day, but we've really had to build a lot to provide in addition to what our past brokerage was really quote unquote providing.
Yeah.
And like as we built that relationship with you in regards to like our pivot, because we've known you for a while, but in regards to you were at our last company.
Yeah, right.
And then you make a pivot and then cool, head up, eyes open. Right?
Yeah.
Like let's pay attention. And
Yeah.
the number one thing that we've seen is like the support we get from LPT with the tools, the different marketing material, like the help that they give agents. It's like, oh, we don't have to keep making all this shit for agents, even though we've got great stuff, right? Like we don't have to, like we can perfect it, we can still scale it, but it's not this thing that has to be there to convince people to be a part of the movement with your brokerage. The brokerage itself provides enough. That's been our number one thing that we've seen since we've transitioned over.
And it goes back to that sense of time, right? If you don't have to create it for the people to attract them to your own organization, and it's something that the brokerage already has and does, imagine the time that you have now and what you can do with that to help build the people that believe in you and what you're offering them.
that's good.
It comes back to that shift of time and what you can do with that for others. And I thought it was also interesting with us and really having the last couple of days of really working towards what your plans were, right? And, I always say that success is a math problem, right? And even working with you guys and your leadership, and it was what I thought was interesting, which might be great for your audience too, is like, we want to do X. Well, why is the X, right? Because the X also has a Y axis. And so if you just concentrate on one part of the equation, you don't get the full picture.
Well, here's what I loved about the sort of like the scenario you ran us to and the way that you personally handled it was it didn't come from this like, hey, here's what you guys should do. It was, what are you guys doing? What do you want to do?
Right.
And then you were also challenging us on our answers and pushing where we need to be pushed to maybe force a different sort of perspective or something out of it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't this, hey, here's how to do it.
Yeah.
It was very much like how do you guys want to build this?
Yeah.
And then let's build it.
And just having the experience of 35 years of
Sure.
the level that you've achieved within different brokerages, and us having that perspective into our own business is huge. For you being at leading Aperture, leading LPT International versus like some of your old companies that you've led before, what have you noticed just as far as like, oh, it's different here? We're really like.
I mean, look, the very first thing is Robert Palmer, the founder of this. Him as a leader and a visionary. When I sat with Robert when we were talking about the possibility of Mike coming over, the idea of talking about what the 10 years from now would be and what you need to do to step into that reality today, right? And I thought that that was special because I usually think about, what's your future reality that you're building, and how do you step into that now? Like when we were talking about Aperture, I know that Aperture is already in my mind the largest luxury brokerage on the planet, right? And we're, as of today, 48 hours old, right? And so in my mind, I already know that that's what we are. And so that's how I take every conversation. And I know that what I'm giving to someone who's a luxury agent in another firm at the moment is something that they don't have at the moment, but I know it's something that I can provide them for them to be able to achieve the greatness they want to at a greater speed. So that's already in my head, and that's how I come in and explain this to everyone. And so that becomes stepping into your future reality. And so what we're building between LPT and Aperture is building the largest real estate company in the world to serve the greatest number of agents across the world.
It's the fastest growing, so on the LPT side, fastest growing brokerage ever.
It is.
Impressive. They talk a lot about numbers, but when they talk to us, when we spoke with Robert Palmer, when he talked about certain market share and what it's going to take to have like the biggest brokerage. It's like, great. And that's not really like my job to see that. However, when you see the different ways that they allow you to structure your career, the number one thing that sticks out to me is retention. Because of how they allow you, the number one thing that you see agents when they want to move brokerages, producers, from non-producers, moderate producers to high producers, there's one thing that they have in common is typically there's a growing pain and they're limited to what they can do or structure.
That's right.
Their business, because it's like, hey, you go to this brokerage, well, it's a this and this split, and this is how it works.
Yeah.
And like Sam, you said the other day, they kind of define success for you.
And
then,
Robert said that like 5 times on our first call with him.
Yeah.
I just want agents to achieve the success that they want to achieve.
A brokerage for life.
It's their individual level of success and their own agent's definition of that. We have what we're calling a flywheel. We're the only brokerage that has now 3 different models for an agent to be able to choose what's best for them. On the LPT side, we have agent hybrid model with 100% model and an 80-20 split with a $15,000 cap. Now you have an Aperture model where it's a true focus for a luxury agent. And there could be a full trajectory of an agent's career where there's ebbs and flows. There might be a top producer that wants to be at 100% commission, because of the fact that in the last year, we have had record low transactions, right? So there's less transactions to go around. And that agent might sort of say, I need the 100% commission because I need to pay my electric bill. I need to put food on the table. I need to make sure I'm taking care of my family. And that's incredibly respectful. And we're saying, I'm not interested in attracting anyone else. I got to worry about me. Okay. There might be a shift in their career at some point where they now see, because of the fact that they're an incredible leader, they attract other people to the organization anyway. So what we do is that we allow them to have a shadow accounting on that LPT side, where if you do attract people, you can track it. You could see what it would have been.
You can see when it's going to be worth it to go from that.
And then we allow you to step right into it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's
incredible.
Yeah.
It's the retention. It's the retention model. Like, hey, out of all the brokerages, everyone, Chevy, Ford, Dodge, argue, get your tattoos. You love Chevy more, whatever. Berkshire, Remax, whoever you want to mention.
Right.
Great, mention. We've just seen it for years and years and years, the switches that we see. Most people will accuse non-producers of making a switch. Like, okay, but I'm not a non-producer.
Right.
I've made a switch before, so it's not just that. That's just an excuse.
Sure.
You have high performers that make pivots because they run out of things that they can do, or they're limited in expansion, not necessarily literally, but within how they want to expand.
Right.
They have limiting things, so they end up making a change. This is the first one where, like, hey, we haven't been here. I just can't imagine the switch you would make. Like when Robert says, hey, this is a brokerage for life.
Yep.
And it's not just a slogan.
Yep. No, it's
Let
not.
me show you why.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's ripper.
And then when you start thinking about it, any firm that's in our industry only has one model.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whatever their firm model is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So whether you're at Compass, whether you're at EXP, at Real, whatever you're in, has one model.
Correct.
We have 3. right? We allow the agent to have their choice. You come here as your home, and it is a brokerage for life because as your circumstances change, you don't have to leave.
Correct. And this brings me to my next point, because this is really romantic to say, and it sounds cool, and I hate it. See, I call my F word.
It's good.
When people have that slogan of like, hey, we're not for everyone.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not for everyone. We're this, and like whatever maybe it's like, oh, you're not for everyone. If you were to buy a product, right, like a pre-workout, and it's got a ton of caffeine in it and a ton of whatever that these.
Did you just have one?
No, this is just me. No. Right? But let's say you got that pre-workout, right? And it's like loaded with everything. It's like, hey, that's not for everyone. Like, that's true. That's a product.
Right.
But whatever company makes that product, could they also make other products that are for other people?
Yeah.
Right. So when you have brokerages out there that try to use this phrase of, hey, we're not for everyone, they're using that very romantically, like, oh, hey, if you want to win, be here. Hey, we're not for everyone. It's like, hey, pause. Why not? Why aren't you for everyone? Like, is it possible to be for everyone, at least within how you structure? Now, the work ethic and consistency, this is all on the realtor that have to do their part. But when you have a limiting model and it's because we're not for everyone, it's like.
But isn't it interesting that they say we're not for everyone when people are leaving?
Yep.
Well,
Because
they
I
kind of
don't
don't.
say that if they stay.
Yep. Or when they're trying to get them to sign up,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when they leave, they just say whatever they have to get
Yeah.
hold on. Right.
But it almost, the narrative comes when people leave you.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Right? If you have the structure, if you have the community that you build where people feel that they belong, right? It was the person that you mentioned that we met with today, that we've spent a few hours with. She lost her community, right?
Yeah.
And she's looking for her community. You know, it's very important.
I'll tell you how important it is. The community she's had has been us three sitting right here.
Yeah.
And when we had that first phone call with her about, hey, here's what we're feeling.
Right.
Here's what we're looking. She goes, I'm feeling that too. And your micro communities within community. Like this is how, like, and I lived and breathed this in the Marine Corps, from the commandant of the Marine Corps to General Hagee, all the way down. Like that culture had to be there because you have these subcultures.
Yep.
Right? You've got the Marine Corps, several 100,000 Marines, right? But then you've got 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines, and you've got 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. Like you've got these micro communities of a couple thousand, couple hundred Marines within their units, right?
Yeah.
How do these units carry out culture? Like it's from the top down. But subcultures matter.
Yeah.
And in order for us to have a subculture, well, it's got to be one that has to be congruent with the bigger mission of the main culture.
Yep.
It also has to be supported in. And she was literally willing to walk away and move away from something that she just transitioned to less than a year ago because of the subculture we have and the vision that we have here. And then was our subculture congruent with LPT's bigger culture? Yes. Secondly, was it supported? We're sitting in your house for 3 days.
Right.
And she was invited and she shared space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So absolutely, it was supported.
You know, you have to remember it's, and I think this is sort of the failure of some of the other brokerages out there from the C-suite, where there's
What's C-suite, by the way? I'm not smart.
so C-suite is anything that has a C in the title. So the
still
chief operating officer, the CEO, the chief growth officer.
Oh, me.
You're a C-suite.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Team.
Hey,
Simmer down.
Yeah.
can we get a shirt that says micro C-suite?
Except we should spell it like SWEET.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
That'll match my pink drink.
That's right.
Pink drink.
So the idea that a lot of the other brokerages with the C-suite, there is a disconnect on the agent level.
From command staff to troops, per se.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Similar.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what I think is different is the fact that I was an agent. I know what an agent goes through. I know what it's like to sit across that kitchen table and try to get that listing so that you have that commission and you build your career. I did it for a long time.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to not have that commission. I know what it's like to be there on January 1st and you start from scratch, right? So that is a very, very visceral sort of feeling with people. And the moment that you forget what an agent goes through, is the moment that you start to fail. Because you have to remember that this is a people business. The agents have a relationship with their clients. Your relationship is with the agent.
Yeah.
That's your client.
100%.
And so that's where there is, a disconnect when you talk about community and culture. That's when that line gets blurred or forgotten.
Well, let's elaborate on that, right? Like, for example, so you were like you were the agent, in my opinion. We can keep all the stories to off record if we have to, but you were like one of the agents. But if you look at it, if we can compare basketball to real estate for a second, let's say a basketball player is a realtor. A guy playing the game is a realtor doing real estate. Magic Johnson, one of the best players ever.
Right.
And then he went into leadership, right? And the Lakers fired him within 6 months of being the head coach. So it's beyond just that you were a realtor, you understand what they go through. You've found a way to transcend into being from a great practitioner to a great leader. Not every great practitioner is a great leader. Like, what do you feel like the differences were, like, as you went, like, what were the challenges of leadership? Like, I know you relate to realtors, we feel it, but like, what were the challenges of like being on that side of the fence and really trying to create this bridge of connection from C-suite to realtors? What were the challenges? What did you struggle through, or where'd you grow, and what do you feel like the great character traits you've adopted or you've had that make great leadership?
And I think you grow as a leader every day, right? It's like someone who thinks that they're a great leader isn't.
No.
You have to be humble to learn from everyone every day. I learned from you guys this last 2 days, and it's been a lot of fun for me. Right.
You learned how hard I got at trying to get these guys. Will, you've done a great job.
It's been a lot of work for him.
And Will likes fruity drinks.
Yes.
Like he's a 16-year-old girl.
100%.
Okay, they're
that's
good.
Interesting.
We're just going to pause right here. We're going to get to leadership. The waiter served me the drink.
Yeah.
Just asked, you have something a little sweeter? He goes, I got just the thing.
There you go.
And he brought me a 16-year-old drink.
That's right.
He did.
And Sam, it was good.
Yes. And didn't order a second.
I did order a second. Okay, I did.
No, technically, the second was also brought to him.
That's very
the
true.
third. There we go.
Yes. Or maybe the third.
Shout out to Abby. Abby, if you're watching.
Okay, the waitress had a thing for Willis. No problem.
There you go.
Secure, it's
Happens all the
good.
time.
It's all been fun. I'm the ugliest guy at the table. She wanted me to feel better about
Right.
That's right.
Like, it was a great plan.
Exactly.
But back to leadership.
But
like,
back to leadership.
what do you feel like the skill sets or the character traits that you have, like what contributes to really translating like contextual experience of being in it to you've clearly transitioned that message to C-suite, but then you've also been able to like articulate something from C-suite to influence the practitioner.
Look,
You're like that bridge, right?
There is, it comes down to basics. I think, one of, I started with, my first corporate job was with Sotheby's, and I moved to London to run their European network. And the European network was incredibly fragmented. And I thought that was sort of ridiculous. I lived in Europe as a child. My mom's from Madrid. And when I actually was talking to everyone, I'm like, how are you not talking to each other? Mm-hmm. And there was an incredible opportunity to create the sums of these different companies were stronger together as a region, but they never saw that.
They were just individual franchises.
They were individual franchises.
Okay.
And I remember, I think it was my first trip was to Frankfurt. And when you start creating this relationship and talking to someone, when you sit across the table from somebody and you listen to them and you actually hear what their concerns are, the problems are not as monumental as anyone is making them. The greatest thing that they're wanting is a voice to hear them.
Yeah.
And once you get past that, you come back to community. And when you actually do enough of these, then you start sort of creating this thing where people start talking to one another, right? There's a lot of there was at the auction house, for example, the auction house and realty never, ever collaborated with one another. And I was like, well, that's what the whole brand is.
Yeah.
So I was living in London and nobody at the auction house would see me. And I was running the region for realty. So I literally went, there was a cafe in the auction house, and that was my office. I would come in every single day, and everyone started seeing me. And it was like, I would meet with anyone. We started meeting with like different department heads, and like started like saying, well, he's not such a bad guy. You should actually, and then another department head would sort of like, until I got to the chairman's office. And then the chairman's office that never, ever had a relationship with realty. And I created that. And it was the idea of saying, look, I'm here, I'm dedicated. I want to make a difference. I see the vision, again, stepping into that future reality. In the first year, the revenue for Europe in that region increased by 42%. We started creating these relationships with auction where I was actually coming in and giving a realty report to auction every 2 weeks. Never happened before. And then when I left Europe, it never happened since. And that was over a decade ago.
So Sotheby's auction house, like the most famous auction house that there is, had no communication or
Didn't want it.
affiliation really
Had an
outside of the
affiliation.
name,
Yeah.
but literally just the name.
Yeah.
With
There was no real connection.
wow,
Yeah. There was no real connection. And
That's
so but it comes back to community,
yeah,
right? Where people need to make the effort. People need to sort of understand, why didn't the auction house want to have a relationship with realtors, right? It's sort of like, do you not trust the fact that they can really be able to serve your clients at the highest level, right? So what is it that was there, and how do you break that perception?
yeah,
So it's the same thing with anything, right? Anyone who's watching and who is a leader, whether you're a single agent, you're the CEO of your own company. If you're a single agent, right? You're the C-suite.
yeah.
Anything.
I am a mini C.
There you
I'm
go.
a mini C right now.
You are sweet. You are sweet.
If you're a team leader, you actually now have a different environment and a different community for your thing. But it all comes back to, how do you communicate and create culture on whatever micro level you do to whatever macro level you do. But that's how you actually retain, grow, and then it's not a numbers game, right? I mean, it is, but it's not a numbers game. What do you want to do with those numbers? Why do we want to be the largest real estate company? It's not to say that we are. It's to say that we serve the greatest number of people.
Right. And you're going to get there by helping agents become better agents.
Yep.
Right. Like when you look across the board, just from what you see the bird's eye view, what is leadership? Like not any broker specific, but what do you see out there that like C-suites are missing when it comes to the leadership realtors need now? It's been the NAR lawsuit. It's been higher interest rates and less transactions. It's been Zillow. Like there's just some things out there right now. And if you keep looking at it, it creates almost like this monster that agents can't oversee. It's not necessarily true, but when it comes to, I know Tom from like just the Marine Corps, there are ebb and flows to where like you just need more leadership in certain moments to get your guys through a storm per se. Right.
Well,
so like for you, like what are folks missing?
It's, I can only talk about what we can do, right? It's sort of like, and by comparison, there might be things that are lacking in other places. But I think that when you start looking at the fact that there's been a lot of noise in our industry of late, right? The lowest number of transactions that's happened in our industry in 30 years, where it's 4 million transactions. At the worst height of the crisis, of the financial crisis, we had more than 4 million transactions, excuse me. And so when you have that happening, when you have the NAR lawsuit, when you have the buyer's broker commission now coming in, now when you have this argument with clear cooperation with some of the brokerages out there, and you create all of these things and you hear a lot of noise, and you're now this realtor that's just trying to figure it out. Imagine if you were a new realtor in the last 24 or 18 months, and all you heard was this noise that kept going, right? And it's like, why did I make this decision, right?
Yeah.
And unless you've got great leadership that give you like
It's-
tasks and directions so you can keep your head down and keep focused.
But
on
it's
where you
it's the
should be.
thing of like when you like when the buyer's broker thing came in, right? At LPT we did 50 hours live hours of training to take people through it and sort of talk about what does it actually mean. People were saying buyer's broker commissions are going away, right? And it was like it was on CNN and it must be true, right?
Yep.
And so people were like, "Oh my God, I'm only a buyer's broker's agent. What do? I'm out of work." No, it was a decoupling of commissions. And so when you actually explained it, and when you showed your value as a buyer's agent, we actually saw commissions go up.
100%.
Right? So when you are actually there and you don't have to rely on what you're making by someone who's the listing agent, that's the co-broker that you've never met in your life probably,
Yep.
and is not with your firm, and now you're allowing somebody else give you the power of what you're going to make.
Yep.
And if you're taking that power back and you're showing your value of what you are worth and there's no ceiling, it's a moment of empowerment. But everyone else just heard the noise.
Yeah.
And if you don't sort of come in and truly be able to lead those that are around you, then it just becomes the noise and it becomes the chaos. And so when you're looking at things, I think people are just sort of saying, should I go left or right? And it was almost like the thing that we did in the last couple of days. I don't know. What's the road that's best for you based on what your circumstance is? And then you need to sort of like go through. My role is not to tell you what road to take.
So
My road is to actually say to you and understand where you come from, to understand where you want to go, and then be your GPS from there.
And the basic level of that before you can even pick a road is like, do you know your numbers? Like, do you know how many transactions you've done? Do you know where they come from, right? Because like a lot of what we've done these past couple of days with our goals, right? Whether it's our goals with agents and influence and transactions and price points, if we didn't know our numbers or where deals were coming from, you can't even start that. So like, it's so important from a practitioner level that as much as you love serving your clients, et cetera, like you also have to have just a certain standard of framework of where your business comes from. Like this thing, like your vehicle, it needs to be intact.
Well, listen, if you want to even go there, because now you're going to hit something that's a real passion point for me. There's 85% of agents do not have a business plan. 85%, right? And so then it's not just how many transactions did you make. It's sort of like, can you go deeper? What was your customer acquisition cost? Where did those customers come from? What's your best source of revenue on your marketing? What's your marketing ROI? People are probably listening to this and saying, what the hell is he just talking about?
Yeah.
Know your numbers doesn't mean how many transactions did I do and how much did I make in GCI.
Yep.
It means the backside of that. What does it cost me to run my business? It's your business, right? It's sort of like it is, again, whether you're a single agent, run a team, run an independent brokerage, or with whatever, right? It is all, you run your own business. And if you don't know your numbers, you'll soon be out of business because, you're going to be sort of like saying, I have no idea what I spent last month in marketing. How do you not know that?
Yeah.
What was it? How many clients did you take out to dinner?
Yeah.
What is it what was the net effect of that?
You'll see the flip side too sometimes. You have some agents out there that borderline brag about not having a plan. Like, I just never use that stuff. I've just always been such a people person and great with folks. That like, it just comes, it's equivalent to athletes that are really talented that brag about not having to practice, not having to watch film because I just show up and I'm good. And it's like, hey, it's true, but that's going to hit a ceiling, right? And then you're going to be limited in your professional career. Now, in real estate, you don't ever have to be limited. No one's going to fire you. In sports, you either hit the college level, pro, and eventually you're just done, right? And they're done, and you're gone. In this space, you're not necessarily ever done unless you tap yourself out, but you're not going to see a certain level of professional growth.
Right.
And eventually, like if you're gonna be 65 years old still pushing houses because you kept bragging about not needing something, it's like, but it goes back to like, hey, let's not brag about our transactions and everything else. Like, what do you want? Like,
Yeah.
what is your life gonna look like? Or are you just gonna keep going through this cyclical thing that, and this is what people have to understand. If you don't have a business model and you don't know where your deals come from and what it costs to acquire those, what it costs to run your business, and you suck, it's very obvious you need a business plan and you need some help. It's the other one. It's when people are doing 20 transactions a year plus and they've never had a business plan. Like, I'm good. You're complacent. And like you're comfortable with that. And before you know it, you're going to be 20 years down the road and you never became what you could have became.
And it's not even 20 years. I mean, think about it. 3 years ago, nobody needed to do anything, right? Because you would.
2% interest rates let a lot of like mediocre, subpar agents at best feel.
Yeah,
like
no, but you know, it was the whole market. It was COVID, right? You know, you listed a property in the morning and you had 6 offers by lunch,
Totally.
right? That was the greatest disservice to our industry.
Yeah.
It was no different than the barista at Starbucks. And I've said that many times and people really get angry at me. But there's absolutely no difference of that realtor that just took a listing and had 6 offers.
Yep.
And he'll give you a reason why. I was in the market back then and I was still buying properties back then. And I would put in an offer and, you know, in some of like my price point that I was going in, it was a very large number, right? And so I would never get a call back if I was one of the 6 that didn't get the house. And I'm thinking to myself, why wouldn't you go back to the other buyers that didn't get it, the other 5, and say, thank you for your offer. You know, sorry you missed out on this one, but can I help you find something else? Never happened in almost 2 years. Now, where are those agents? Right?
Yeah.
Don't they wish they would have had 2 years of potential buyers as a Rolodex and a way to sort of come in and build from there, have a new database? Now those agents are either out of the industry or they're struggling to figure out how to get the skill sets to survive in this industry.
Agreed.
Right? And so when you have a plan in good times and bad, it sticks you to a routine.
And having systems and processes that do that, right? Like
That's right.
We're bigger than we've ever been, but I feel like I have more time in the evenings and
Yeah.
weekends for kiddos, right?
Yep.
So like some of the systems and processes
Yeah.
us 3 have been building as far as like having those things operational that just get done, right? Versus the whole manual thing. It's good to do the manual and understand things and to figure it out, but then like decentralizing it into systems and processes so it's not just you having to do the thing, because like that's not a business either. You're just self-employed.
Yeah.
If you're doing everything, you're self-employed. It's not necessarily bringing you anything back.
Look, we talked about that yesterday, right? I mean, I had a house full of workers yesterday. While we were all working here, right? I mean, I had my maid here that was here for 8 hours. I had my gate repair guy.
Yeah.
I had my pool guy, right? It's sort of like, I'm not going to spend 8 hours cleaning my house.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend 2 hours cleaning my
Sam's got a guy exactly. Sam's got a guy that'll work out for him. He doesn't have to work out. Remember we all went to the gym today, and then we got the security alert that Sam was doing cannonballs into the pool.
There was that shredded guy at the gym. He hired him.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know,
Wouldn't that be cool? Hey,
he did test out the diving board.
Yeah.
You know, and it didn't
Did
break.
you?
Oh, I was on the phone. I just bounced on it a little bit.
Michael, one of my favorite things over the past couple of days personally has just been getting to know you and your background and your past. You've got tons of good stories, but can you just give sort of like a high level, like back it up, like, and you've got, you know, great connections in New York and then Miami and then Dallas, and even how you ended up in Dallas and why you chose Dallas is a cool story. Can you back it up a little bit and just kind of
Start with Prince, you know?
Anyway, so we had, I was, this is my 21st year in real estate, and I started as an agent, but I came from the banking world. So I was at Deutsche Bank for 10 years. And I started in Miami because I'm born and raised in New York, but I had moved to Miami.
Okay.
And I was buying property for my own portfolio, and I only got licensed for my own portfolio. And through a series of circumstances, met the person who owned the franchise in Miami. Was the first franchise that was sold in Miami back in 2004. And so through a series of conversations, I ended up going in and running his team. And so I ran his team for about 6 months until I figured out I was making a lot of other people wealthy.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, heck, I can do this. And so I went to him and I said, I think I want to start my own team. And so he says, do you want to compete against me? That was his first reaction. I was like, I guess.
Yeah.
But I never
but
really
that's
thought,
the
I never really, even back then, my mindset is like, I don't compete against anybody else but myself.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm my only competition, not you. And it's sort of like, because we're all individuals, right? So your only competition is what you did yesterday, right? And doing better than what you did yesterday. But I'd sort of like, that's why they have racehorses have blinders. So you don't look to the left or to your right, you can only look straight ahead. And so that's why it's sort of like when you start looking at things with blinders, there is no competition, you look inward. And so I started the team and I started the company. In a year's time, we were ranked in the top 1% in the entire state of Florida. And so we were focused on the ultra luxury market, just the top 1% of the market in Miami at the time. And at the time, it was a very healthy market. My very first sale was $6.8 million, which was the penthouse of the Fontainebleau Hotel. So this is literally 20 years ago. So right now, that's probably a 50 or 60.
I was just about to
equivalent.
say, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and my second sale was a $12.8 million door knock. And it was this tenacity where I wasn't afraid of like rejection. And it was, again, I had my own mindset of what I needed to accomplish and do. And so that's how I ran my business. And I ran a very successful business for about 5 or 6 years until I moved to the corporate side of things. But then it was the idea of coming to Dallas. And I moved to Dallas. I bought this house about 1.5 years ago. And for me, it was the fact that now, because of the growth that I was doing between my old company and now this one, the idea of growth puts me on a plane about 200 days a year. And so I'm very analytical and I analyze many things and I do datas and systems. And I actually counted how many hours I spent on a plane the entire year, and moving to the center of the country gave me a month of my life back.
Crazy.
So it's sort of like, and people are like, what? It's sort of like, but I was
Time to the
that,
airport.
I was
time
that
in the air to
yeah.
a state. Yeah.
I was that analytical about time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because going back to our original statement, it's the only thing that's finite, right? And so if I was living on the East Coast, because I have a home in New York and I have a home in Miami. So if I'm living on the East Coast and I have to go west, that's 12 hours on a plane,
Yeah.
right?
Just to come all the way back to.
Well, no, that's 12 together, 6 and
okay,
6,
gotcha,
right?
gotcha.
So that's 12 hours on a plane, right? And so here, I'm anywhere in the United States in 3 hours or less.
Yeah.
Right?
amazing.
So it was like, people are like, hey, how do you like Dallas? I mean, Dallas is a great city, but it's tactical,
Yeah.
right? It serves its purpose.
Yeah.
It serves its purpose.
Meanwhile, I drove to Dallas. For me, it's like I don't mind spending my time that way. Like for
Right.
me, a lot of times just getting out of my own head and just turning on a podcast and just having just my own space.
And that's perfectly fine, right? Because that's the time that works for you. If you're listening to a podcast in your car, you're filling your brain.
Yeah.
You're training yourself,
And
right?
if we don't have systems and processes,
Yeah.
a team built, there's no way I could spend my time driving to Dallas.
I mean,
and our company in Colorado still be working.
yeah, you came from military, so you know the training. You're training yourself listening.
And
to a
eventually, if
podcast.
you get successful enough in the military, you understand tactical decisions.
Right.
You understand the benefit of framework and decentralization.
Sure.
As building that team, like decentralizing the leadership, right? Having other people in place. And I think the one thing, in the military and in police work, your promotion is there for you. You do a certain amount of time in and you're proficient, they promote you. And with that promotion comes these new tasks, right? You're a team leader, it's this. And you get promoted to a squad leader. Okay, it's this. You're a street cop, cool. And you get promoted to sergeant. you get a promotion, but then the job of a sergeant is already very clear and they tell you what it is. In real estate and in entrepreneurship, right? Like you could show up a realtor and die a realtor. You got to create your own promotions.
You got to create your own path.
You have to replace yourself at whatever level that was with people, with systems, right, et cetera, et cetera. Like, and I feel like that's the one thing is just like you have to create these opportunities for yourself, or you can literally come here, stay 30 years, and be the same exact thing you walk in the door with.
Look, even for me leaving our the old company that we were with, I was very well paid. I helped grow that company to the largest independent in our industry over 4 years' time. For me to walk away from that to come to what was basically a startup, it's belief in the leadership that was there, and it's belief in yourself of what you can help build and create. So that's betting on you. And there's sometimes you have to just jump off the cliff in order to be able to soar higher. And that really is something that's really strong.
We had a realtor ask me a question one time on one of our Zoom classes, and I said, like, what are you struggling with? And he said that if I do exactly what you did, how you did it, and I do everything else that you tell me, that it's going to work out. Like, he's like, how did you know it was going to work out for you? And I was like, man, like, what a great question, because I didn't know real estate was going to work out. I knew I would work out.
There you go.
And like when I got into real estate, I was like, I'm either going to like, this is going to work, or I'm going to meet someone or something that will take me in a path that will work. But again, it comes from that framework of like, do you understand how to work hard? Do you understand how to build relationships? Do you understand how to organize your time? Do you understand how to study and put time into your craft to be a high level practitioner? Like, this is where the shit starts. I feel like so many agents miss that, but they're so busy looking for success or looking for the opportunity. It's like, dude, the opportunity can smack in the freaking face. Are you prepared? Like, have you done things the right way from the start? Or do you need to go back a little bit and make sure that we're good at this? And part of the culture should support having a standard of how proficient people are, which is why LPT is so important, because it's agent-based. We're focused on agent production, not just can we attract everybody possible and brag about some numbers.
Look, there's 1.5 million realtors according to NAR, right, in the United States. What makes one agent more special than someone else? Right?
Pedigree.
So it's like, what?
Pedigree.
What pedigree?
They come from me. Pedigree.
The answer has to come from within, right?
Yeah.
So what value do you bring?
Is it a little bit of both? Like, like it
A little bit
comes
of both.
within-
What? What's the second?
As in, like, you kind of don't know what you don't know. Like, could the entity, could the organization, could the brokerage gift and instill certain ideologies and core values that you should adopt that allow you to just have a better vision of like what a realtor should be?
That's a different statement, though.
Okay.
Those are core values. I mean, are there ethics? That obviously, that's why you get licensed, right? And it's sort of like they don't give really well. I mean, it's not a big barrier to entry, but you still have to go through some training, right? But it's not about ethics. When you're sitting there, why would I hire you? What's your pitch? Why am I going to hire Will? Right? And because if you can't give me that, guess what? I'm not going to hire Will.
Yeah, totally.
So I don't care how many, what your ethics are, because I won't get to that level.
Yeah.
If you can't tell me what your value is to my situation as a consumer,
How are you going to help me solve my problem? I have to
Period.
sell my house. I need to buy a house. How are you going to?
and why are you the best person to solve that problem for me? Because that's the person that gets hired.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can't give me that, I won't get to the next level of knowing what your values are.
Yeah.
Because I need you to sort of serve my needs first.
Yeah. So you're looking at that like almost like from the agent perspective of the company.
The agent
Right.
needs to know what it's like, why are you the person I'm going to hire instead of the 1.499 thousand other people that I can?
Right. Yeah.
Right? And so unless you give me that answer, I'm not going to hire you.
Right.
And then you have to then imagine, look, it's sort of like when there's an expired going on, right? I mean, I had I rented my apartment in New York last month. the moment that thing got rented, it came off the MLS. Well, it's not really an MLS in New York, but it came off the Street Easy thing.
Yeah.
And then I had 28 agents call over 3-day time.
Call you.
Yes. And of course, it was like I was getting so annoyed.
Yeah.
But it was, first of all, that's at least 28 people that took their shot,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Had I not sort of sold it, at one point, one of them might have pierced my, and again, trust me, I'm a really difficult client because I've been in real estate too long and I know a lot. And so, I won't respond to a cold call, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Somebody will, right? Those 28 people at least took a shot. They got into a smaller window. Had it not been me as a client and somebody else, that would have been far nicer. They might have gotten a deal out of it.
Yeah. Right.
Right. But then they would have needed to tell me their value. And what I thought was really interesting is that the majority of those people would tell me, I've sold in your building before. Right. It's like, okay. Right. It was, my company has sold the most in your zip code. It's like, you haven't told me a thing of what you're doing for me.
Yep.
I can't hire a company. I'm hiring an individual.
And you're unique because you're you. So somebody
And I will preface the fact that I'm very
100%.
difficult.
So here's what's crazy with what you just said. The 28 people that took their shot,
Yeah.
if it weren't you on the other side of that call,
Somebody would have gotten another deal.
so what you're also saying is
Take a shot.
it's easy to succeed in real estate if you just
Put in the
the
work.
call, knock the door,
Put in the
make
work.
the contact,
Yeah.
send the email, because
Right.
so few are actually doing that.
Yes.
Look how significant you become with these opportunities the more you put yourself
That's
in
right.
that pool.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, it's, and some called twice.
Yeah.
You know.
That'd be Will, the deal double dial.
Yeah.
I love double
The
down.
I just hung up twice.
one thing that's a new experience for me is actually having trust in leadership at a brokerage. I literally have never had that before. And what's really cool is when we initially started the conversation of coming over, we're looking at what we're walking away from,
Sure.
and then we immediately look at you and what you walked away from. That was how much bigger than what we're walking away from, which made the decision that much easier. Yeah. But what's really cool here is, like, with your track record of not only being a practitioner and doing the things that, all the people that are coming over here are actively doing, and at a really, really large scale. And not only that, but then taking these massive international companies from point A and 4Xing, 10Xing, like blowing them up. You've got this amazing track record of success, right? So last night, we're sitting at the pool and I ask you, hey man, when it comes to LPT and Aperture, at the end of the day, where do you see this going, right? You've been here, done that.
Yeah.
This isn't a guess. This isn't a dream. This isn't a I hope or we think. You told me straight up what you said earlier. This is going to be the biggest brokerage in the world.
That's right.
Without missing a beat. And the amount of confidence that instills into me and us, knowing that, yeah, you've done this before.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That was such an incredible feeling. And it was like, man, the trust was already there, but then just hearing your response to that and the confidence behind it.
Yep.
Like, man, it's an incredible feeling to actually be able to trust your leadership and in a brokerage. Because again, that's a completely new experience for me.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people too, like the biggest thing people complain about is they go to a brokerage, they're sold this pipe dream,
Yeah.
and then they get there and they're like, oh, this is immediately, I've been at a brokerage for 10 days before. That's how long it took me to figure out they're full of shit. And even that was probably being gracious. But I know everyone's had that experience. And this has been the complete opposite of, man, I'm not really sure what it's going to be. Yeah, I'm excited and we're taking this leap, but then immediately like outperforming expectations.
Yeah, and just not being afraid to make a move, right? Like when you feel something from leadership or lack thereof that you don't align with or that's not serving. So many agents make it such a big deal of like, oh, I've only been here for 2 years, and it's like, hey, nobody likes changing. It's not that we just enjoy the rotation process of that, but like understanding how to climb the ladder and build and make pivots for your career that you envision. And so many agents, it's like, what do you like, Justin Timberlake going to Backstreet Boys instead of staying with NSYNC?
Yeah.
Or you're going solo? Like what are we talking about? Like none of us are that big of a deal. And more importantly, what you'll start to find out if you've built the right subculture or you've built the right practitioner, if you're an individual agent, not just a team, your clients trust and appreciate you.
Yeah.
It's not about like them, oh, where are you going and why? Like you don't see, we've never seen that.
Yeah.
We've never seen it. They trust you. So as someone that can bring more value to your clients, like stop worrying about the Facebook post you think you have to make.
Yeah.
Understand where pivots in business have to happen so you can not only be better served, but so you can better serve your clients in the first place.
So true.
Just stop being so afraid of that.
Well,
You know what I find so fascinating?
what's that?
Is that Will can name every 90s boy band.
Oh, he's dude.
That's
pop,
amazing.
pop culture, movie references, song
It's
lyrics,
amazing to me, actually.
song
It's really
lyrics.
amazing to me.
I'm a Renaissance.
You know,
Hey, like it's not surprising. I'm good at everything. Say it that way. See how much better that sounds? Instead of you saying that, you could have said, isn't it crazy how Will knows everything?
Yes.
You know, it's a modern day
It's
Renaissance.
just amazing.
Renaissance.
I
I
have to
can
know
do it
that.
with a pink drink in his hand confidently.
yeah.
And you know what?
It is so amazing.
And it was a lot of fun. And it was amazing. And here's why I do that. Because when you see me, I give you a certain impression. There's a certain command presence or impression. But then you see me drink that. Or you see me know a boy band. And you're like, man, I can't quite put that back in the box.
Yeah.
I thought he was A, but maybe he's B or C or I can't put it
But
back.
it's also your armor. Because you look this way for a reason.
I just
Right.
appreciate good art.
But
The muscles and shit,
here's,
that's cornbread and whole milk.
but here's the beauty of getting to know you on a deeper level, and this is serious because we met in Denver, we had some great conversations, and how with this, you decide who you want to take your armor off for, and I actually love that about you because the layers of who you are as a person is really a beautiful thing.
Oh, it
I
is.
wonder if we're similar in that aspect, right?
What's that?
I wonder if we're similar in that aspect, right? Because there's so much service to duty within
Yeah.
leadership and just being who you need to be, not who you want to be, or like especially like if like when I was a cop and you've got something tragic going on. Like, this is not my moment to break down.
Sure.
This is not my moment to be weak. This is my moment to shield,
Yeah.
to protect, to escort, to communicate. Like I'm the guy that's supposed to be there. And like something that's very similar in real estate is when you've got negotiations or a house falls out of contract and it's going back on the market or we didn't get the offer, whatever it is. It's like you'll hear you'll hear agents cry and be nervous and scared to talk to your client. It's like, hey, man, this isn't about you right now, right? Like this is about how well we gatekeep, how well we lead and execute for our clients to manage those emotions. And I think organically some of that, translates over. On the personal side, though, like you are right. Like I do think I tend to gatekeep
Yeah.
if people see me.
Yeah.
The-
That's a good thing.
One trait that I've noticed that I think is like similar between the two of you two is your ability to, I guess I'll summarize it down into like maybe intuition. One thing about like, I think I've noticed with like your sort of patterns of movements and pivots and things like that. Same with you is like, you're able to like just have a feeling or probably analyzing and looking at data, maybe more like feeling a gut intuition. And, you're making these pivots before shit hits the fan over in other places. You know what I mean? And it's like even him, like shit hasn't hit any fans for us. But, 8 months ago, he starts talking a little bit and he's just feeling something. And I just, he explores and stuff. And there's that trust from our side that, hey, he's feeling something, he's going to explore it. And then there's this opportunity. And then it just kind of makes sense to make this pivot. But then, like, I feel like there's been a handful of times in our personal, business and stuff like that. Sure. And probably for you also in hindsight, where you make this move and you start building this new thing as the explosion is going off behind you and you're walking away in slow-mo. Like, is that intuition?
Did you light the fire or did you? Are you starting one or putting one out? What are we doing?
No, there's no matches.
What do you think that is? Is that just intuition? Is it gut feeling? Is it
Look, I don't even like. I know what you're saying, but it doesn't like. For me, it's the environment is part of where you are because you're always a member of your environment,
Okay.
right? And sometimes your vision for what you want to do individually doesn't align with the environment you're in,
Okay.
right? And
Yeah.
they're two separate entities. And if that just can't meld together, then something has to give.
You know where that road leads. You don't have to
Right.
keep
Yeah.
Because if you've got a different vision than where your environment can support,
Yeah.
it's not going to be healthy
Yeah.
for either,
Yeah.
right? And so at that point, you just need to figure out does your vision need to change or does your environment need to change?
Yeah.
In other words, are you for sale?
Yeah. Well, and
Are you gonna sell out? I mean, kinda. Because if you're not gonna go pursue your vision, if it's really what it needs to be, like, I just wonder how many people do conform.
Yeah.
Or like for us, right? Like it seems like it's my gut or intuition, and it's a little bit, but like privately, I've been looking at it for 8 months.
yeah.
And how many times did a phone call or hey, let's go try this and do this, and like we just kept hitting certain ceilings.
Yeah.
So then like your intuition might spark some thought. You make reach outs. And as you make reach outs and try different things and you continue to hit ceilings, well, now you're just building your own data.
Yeah.
That's either going to verify what you're feeling or not. Maybe you just need to lean back in and just be more part of the community. And it was more of a you thing than a that thing. But
Yeah.
it might come abrupt once it hits the surface and you pull a decision because you can lean and like you can pull right back out at the last second and no problem. But once you know like, yep, this is it, and you commit, it needs to happen right now. But it's 8 months long of decisions and being able to just gather data, try something. What is it? How'd that feel? What did I give? Try, and for months, dude. If you look at it now,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like of the certain.
I'm getting distracted because that bunny is staring me down. Look at this thing. It is staring me down.
Oh wow. It is.
He is staring me down.
Thumper out there.
Look at that thing.
But I'm sure you feel the
Oh.
same way. Just something kind of grabs your attention. Like you don't have to make any like decision like right this second, but you're just paying attention to certain things and you try certain things and
Look,
it'll
other things enter your environment, right?
Yeah.
And then you start looking
Yeah.
at that, and you actually, you either reject it. It's like not interested in that,
Yeah.
or you sort of say, "Huh, that's interesting. Why am I coming back to that?"
And I,
and you have to because you talk
Yeah.
about like having blinders on when you get in focus and you're saying work and we agree. But it's kind of like the dichotomy of both. Like when you hear like Jocko talk about combat, you cannot get tunnel vision. Like it's okay to have some and you're focused on something,
Yep.
fine, but you also have to like pick your head up and look around because you might have an enemy enveloping and coming
Yep.
from this way.
Sure.
Or you might be able to envelop them from this direction. So it's good to have your being in the fight, but you have to remember how to like pick your head up out of it
yeah.
and still look around and see what's going on. And it's kind of like the dichotomy of both, of just like being super focused and intentional. But
Well, I don't
not
think it's a
being
dichotomy.
blind.
I think it's a blend of it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? I don't think that they're opposites.
Yeah. Well, and I like how you tied it to, hey, we're in alignment kind of until we're not. And when you're aware of your ethics and your own moral code and your own road that you're going on, you'll notice real fast when all of a sudden you're not on that path. And,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
that was the reason I wanted to ask that question, because I think a lot of people that are watching this, they might just be too head down or like, no, everything's okay. I don't need to change. But it's like, hey, you don't want to be stuck when the building does explode. And now you're trying to make a change.
And realize the
When
owner
shit
of that
isn't
building
okay.
is not going to tell you it's coming down.
No.
Just know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just know that. The guy that owns the building is not going to tell you to get out.
But the alignment is a great sort of compass, I think, for people to gauge that.
Yeah.
Because when you boil it down to, hey, is my company in alignment with where I want to take my business? Is this a train that I'm willing to jump on and we're going in the same direction?
And if it is great,
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But it gives people sort of a groundwork for how
Yeah.
to make those decisions.
yeah.
I agree.
And if it isn't, then you actually sort of like think about like what's out of alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And can you bring it back into alignment in the environment in which you're in?
Yeah. What would it take to feel like I'm in a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even something like you moving to Dallas. Like you probably felt at some point, I am busy as heck. I'm traveling all the time. I'm not getting my fitness in or whatever. Hey, where could I save some time?
Sure.
Can I pack up and move to Dallas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here we are in my living room.
Yeah.
Agreed. Now, before we get to beers and pool, because this is our last night with you, And we're gonna be diving back more into the business and showing you a lot of really cool stuff before we head out tomorrow. Last question for you.
Sure.
It's kind of a romantic question. If it's not good, just have them ask you some shit. What do people not know about you that you wish they did?
What do people not know about me that they wish they did? I think that's a difficult question to answer because it's from someone else's lens.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's and it's
Are you just always known for certain accolades when you go speak, when you go talk? Is there just certain things that people always kind of know, but you wish it was more? Or just is there any unique value? Like, are you like a avid rollerblader? Or something?
No, but I was on my college fencing team.
That's a small world.
Yeah, because you had something there, didn't you?
My mom,
Yeah.
3-time Olympian.
Yeah. See, your mom was a 3-time Olympian fencer.
She might have whooped your ass with it.
I'm sure she would have.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Well, no, I've got something because you were showing me a lot of the art around the house earlier.
Yeah.
The way you advocate for Latin American artists, not just visual artists, but also with your involvement as an executive producer in this production. Like, those are things that I think people would love to know about you.
Yeah.
And how like that passion kind of came about.
It's like you read my mind. Yeah. Because a lot of folks don't know how involved you are.
Yeah, no, it's
Okay, hold on a minute. Remember last night when someone like said kind of hit on me and you're like, yeah, it was right there, and you didn't, and you remember I kept missing. Remember that?
Yeah.
You just missed mine. That's what I was trying to do.
well, you weren't very obvious.
I
Thank you, Sam.
yeah, fuck you, Sam.
Well, dive into that a
It
little
all
bit.
goes back to the
Put
favorite.
that out.
Yeah.
Dive into that a little bit because that is this whole other chapter to you.
Yeah, no, it's it is. It's like, that's really important to me. It's there's, I like there's in the Latino community, there's a lot of struggle because there's not a great relationship with money and wealth, and it's something that I've achieved, and I want to make sure that I wasn't the anomaly. Right? It is something where that sort of belief system needs to be eradicated, right? And so I'm working on something called the Latino Millionaire Circle, which is really an opportunity for like-minded individuals in the Latino community to understand the skill sets that might be available, or show examples of people. And it's not just the celebrities, right? It's not just everyone that you see on television. It's the plumber that lives down the street that has a business that's worth $14 million, right? And it's the electrician that, built the business from nothing, the person who owns the bakery. And those things, when you sort of see it in your own backyard and you see it immersed and as part of the tapestry of everyday business, then you actually have a better shot at breaking the cycle. And so I really want to help in that narrative. But also on the art side, yes, I've been collecting Latin American art for 30 years now. That's a big part of my collection that's around here.
This one in your grand room that you gifted me. This one. Is that a Latino artist?
That is not a Latino artist.
Oh, that's why okay.
Yes. But
I appreciate it.
I do
appreciate it.
It is. I like
The
it
same
too.
day I bring you a watch is the same day I can maybe have something. That's a great piece. I love it.
But what you were talking about was I invested in a Broadway play. It's called Real Women Have Curves. It's the first all Latino cast and creative that's ever been on Broadway. And now there was actually a really great, in this season, there's actually the first time in history ever that 2 Latino shows have hit Broadway, which was Buena Vista Social Club, which is also a great show. And that show, I think, got something like 14 Tony nominations. We got 2. So it's still great that it's being acknowledged. And yeah, it's exciting. So thank you for mentioning that.
Of course.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
100%.
Yeah.
Time for some beers. Maybe a pool. We just want to pull the curtain back on some of our products and just how we get arrange out. But
Awesome.
can't thank you enough. for
Oh,
your time,
guys, thank you.
relationship,
Yeah,
leadership.
man. It's been a fun conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right.
All right. Well, redefine.
Out of here.
whiskey on the tongue and some long cut. I'ma slip it on down and turn it up. Southbound and we're trailblazing, yeah, but and a posse dirty, filthy like a spit cut. Got the moms at the gate bringing big guns. Raw records be the steak, we the A1. Speak up and we know where we came from. Welcome to the posse, let me hear your long cut.